Welcome, everybody, to Keystroke Live. Today we're going to talk about hiding versus deleting database records and when you should do both of those. Um, Remember, this is the same time, same place, same login every week. Uh, Next week will be the first Wednesday of the month, so you'll get to hear Michael Gibb on whatever he has planned. So uh, please tune in every week if you have time. So let's get right into hide versus delete. You want to hide records that's had any kind of activity, sales or purchases, because you may need to go back and do something. You hide it because maybe you no longer carry it or you don't provide that service, but you still want to report on it. So you hide things that you don't want to see, but that have had activity. We recommend deleting records only when you've never had any activity on it. You've never sold it, you've never purchased it. Say, Keystroke, you imported a bunch of records. You started with a base, maybe a liquor store database, and they don't carry a lot of those items. So rather than hide them, you can delete them if they're not going to carry them. So hide when there's been activity. Now, you can do this either individually or with a search function, or a search and hide, or a search and delete, or a search and unhide. There's also a little function that we've used internally, but we can make it available for dealers. Now, it doesn't hide. It's not like the search and function, but it's a function that takes records that have been deleted and makes them hidden instead. And that's great if you've got thousands of records that were deleted that had sales activity. You can mark them as hidden instead. Because what happens if you delete database records and then you pack that database, those records cannot be recalled. The hide delete function can't get them back either. But when you try to recall deleted items, you can only do it one at a time. There's no mass way to do it. So this hide delete function can help in that respect. If one of your customers has just deleted a bunch of items that shouldn't have been deleted and they are available for recall, this hide delete function will work. And it works in both 7 and version 8, and you can just call us here at the office and we can send that to you. So let's talk about the search and hide or search and delete functions. I'll walk you through it. Then we're going to go into Keystroke, and I'm going to show you how this works within the program. Whenever you're doing any search functions on a database, it's always a good idea to have a current backup, just in case you accidentally put in a search criteria that messes things up. You can restore your inventory. When you first go to Database Manager, you have to select the database record of whatever type of database you're going to work on, inventory or customers or vendors or whatever. Then you can go to the Find menu and choose Search and Hide Delete, and then you can choose either Hide, Unhide, or Delete. Then you can use the F9 function if you need to find your search criteria on a different screen other than the main screen. You do need to enter at least one search criteria, whether it's based on last sold date or quantity on hand of 0 or last purchase date, or a combination of those. On these search functions, for this particular one, once you enter the search criteria, you hit F10. Keystroke's going to ask you, do you want to confirm the change to each record? What I recommend in most cases with these search functions that are going to change database records en masse, say yes to confirm change to each record initially. Let it bring up the first record that meets your search criteria. Determine, yes, that works. You know, you can hit the letter Y to change that record. It'll bring up the next one. Do that for 2, 3, 4 records to make sure your search criteria is working. You can cancel out of the search, go back and look at those records. You know, if it's done what you've expected, and if you stay in Database Manager, your search criteria is still going to be there. So you can go back to the Find menu, search and hide, delete. And then instead of confirming the change to each record, you can just say all, and it'll go through all the records. Now remember, with the delete function, if a record is already deleted, they can only be recalled individually. So you have to do it one at a time. You can unhide records en masse, you know, with this search function, but you can't undelete them or recall them. And, you know, you can run the opposite function for hide or unhide, vice versa. Let's take a look at how this works in Keystroke. I'm in Database Manager. I've brought up an inventory record. To individually hide or delete a record, you can go to the Record menu. Since Hide Show is first on the list, I'm going to decide to hide a record. Now, if you're going to hide, you can either list all your records, hidden or not, or just your active records. So you don't want to see all your hidden ones, you just want to see the ones that are active, so you can choose which to hide. We're going to choose active only, and even though, you know, this long sleeve shirt says we have 12 on hand, we want to hide it. We don't have any more. Keystroke's smart enough to give you a warning. This item is still active. You have a quantity on hand. If this is, you know, if you actually don't have any, you might want to do a variance to zero out the quantities for items before you hide them, but you can go ahead and hide it anyway. Okay, now it's hidden. Since I'm doing an active only list, you don't even see it here. I'm going to hide my mouse pad. Okay, hide my canvas bag. And now those items, when I look at my list, are not there. Now you can show hidden items in an inventory list just by clicking the Show Hidden button, but you can't tell if you've done that. You can't tell just by looking at the list what's hidden or not hidden. If you want to see what's hidden, you can go to Hide Show Inactive Only. That's going to show you all your hidden items. And if you want them to be, if you want to bring them back and have them show again, you can just hit Enter on them. Or you can go to the Record Hide Show menu and list all, and the ones that are hidden are going to show an H next to them. It's a pretty easy process. It's a great way to clean up your inventory. As I said, you can report on hidden items. Most of our reports for databases include a flag field called Include Hidden Records. So if you ever run like a inventory sales analysis report, and you get a whole big list on the first page of items not found, first thing to look at is, have you checked Include Hidden Records? If you haven't, any record that was sold during the date range that has been hidden sends are going to show under items not found unless you include hidden records. So that's the first thing to check. Now you can also delete records. Remember, hiding records are for records where you've had some sales and purchase activity. You just don't carry it anymore. You don't want it to show up in the list to confuse your clerks or anything like that. You're going to delete records that have never had any activity. You've never sold them. You've never purchased them. The quantity on hand is 0. It's a similar process as hide show. You can go to the record menu, choose delete. It's going to show things that are on the list here. And again, Keystroke is smart enough. It's going to give you a warning if you try to delete something. And these warnings come up in the search and feature too, which I'm going to show you in a second. So I can delete a record even if there's a quantity on hand. And they're not going to show in the list. So once they're deleted, they're not going to show in the list at all. The only way to get them back is in Database Manager, go to the record menu and recall. Here are the ones I've deleted. If you pack this file and then decide, oh, I really wanted those records back, you're out of luck. So you want to be very careful and only delete things that you absolutely are never, ever going to need. Okay, let's talk about the search and functions as well. If you want to do a mass search and hide or search and delete or unhide, you can go to the Find menu. Remember, some of these menus don't show up unless you've brought up a database record first. So, and this works, we're just working with inventory, but this also works with all your other databases as well. So search and hide, delete. We want to hide records. And this is going to give us a lot of warnings. Your search screen, you can always tell what the screen is down below, above your status bar and your toolbars. We're on the search screen. And I'm just going to do something really crazy here. And we're going to search for everything, all stock numbers greater than 100. So we're going to search. And then once you put your search criteria in, as I said, in most cases when you're working with inventory, when you do your search and hide, you're going to probably have criteria like quantity on hand, last sold, last purchased. And a lot of people do this on an annual basis. They go, okay, I'm going to hide everything that I don't have in stock that I haven't sold or purchased in 2 years. It doesn't need to show up on the list anymore. It's a nice way to keep things clean. Once you've put in all your search criteria, and as I said, you can hit F9 here if you want to go last sold less than 01/01/10, whatever. Sorry, less than here. You can do all that as well, but I'm just going to make it simple. But you can, any screen you can put your search criteria. When you've got it all in there, you hit F10. Keystroke's going to ask, confirm hiding each record. If you say yes, it's going to bring up the first record. Remember, my criteria was stock number greater than 100. When you confirm change to each record, the very bottom on the status bar, Keystroke's going to ask, do you want to hide this record? If I say yes, it's going to hide it. I want to hide this one. Yes. Now, when you're individually confirming, it's not going to come up with that warning because it assumes you know what you're doing. Well, I'm convinced this is going to work. I'm just going to hit the letter A. Now, when you do all of them like this, it is going to give you the warning. You want to, yep, I still want to do it. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of it, but I've hidden a bunch of records. Okay, if I want to go back and unhide those, I'm going to go back to the Find menu, Search and Hide, Delete. I'm going to unhide records. Now, on the inventory database, we actually have a hidden flag here. And I'm going to use that for my search criteria to bring everything that's hidden back into Keystroke again. So what I'm going to search for, and remember I do have some other things less with a stock number less than 100. So my only criteria is I want to unhide everything I've hidden. You can go to the More Data screen. You can put an X or the number 1 in the Hidden field. And that says Hidden Yes. I can use that for my search criteria. Let's see. Find, search and hide, delete, unhide records. Confirm unhiding. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, 8 records. You can verify that you've unhidden everything by going to the Hide Show menu. Inactive, I don't have any hidden records. Now remember, you can do en masse hide and show. You can delete en masse, but you cannot undelete en masse. You have to recall them individually. So I'm just going to recall everything. So we're back to a full database. Does anybody have any questions? Well, let's take a look back at our PowerPoint presentation here. Little reminders of what we've talked about today. You want to hide records that have had some kind of activity. I've demonstrated with inventory, but you can do the same thing with customers, with vendors. You know, customers, if you keep track of customers and customers move away or whatever, you could do a search and hide on customers that haven't bought anything in the last 5 years. Just helps keep your database clean, keeps your list of that database clean. You want to hide when there's been activity, but you still want to report on it. You want to delete really only when there's no activity. Keystroke can have lots and lots of records. I don't think we've ever had anybody reach the maximum number of records in version 7 or 8. So there's the only reason to delete it if you accidentally have 2 records of the same one or something like that. Now, if you have 2 records that are the same item that have both had activity, unfortunately, there's not an easy way to merge them, but that can be done, so you could delete one of them. So you can do hide or delete individually, or basically one at a time, or you can use the search function to hide, unhide, or delete. If you ever come across a situation where a customer has deleted a bunch of records, and this is in a case where you might have hundreds or thousands and you don't want to go through and hit enter on each one, the hide delete function can take all deleted records and mark them as hidden. Now, the database does need to be packed, and just like the search and functions, you want to make sure you have a current backup when you do anything like this, just in case. Just some details again on the search and functions. Having a current backup, always important. Any questions? Well, thanks for everybody being here today. Same time, same place next week. It'll be Michael Gebb on the first Wednesday of the month. Everybody have a great week. Bye-bye.